I'm art historian, so I don't have such a big experience in running or being urban planner or practitioner. But as I prepared here for the presentation, first I would like to give you. Oh. First, I would like to show you a few examples. As I was thinking at the beginning when we were talking about art in public space, residencies, working with the minorities, local neighborhood, then I was first thinking about the tools which we are using. So that's why I decided to choose you 3 examples. So first one in the corner is just a simple intervention in the space that the artist, low budget artists from Gdynia, they decided to do the interaction, a kind of guerrilla intervention in the space. So they just put this yellow step that is actually helping in the shortcut. So when you are living in the area, probably you know it from your own experience that there are paths that are shortcutting the direction. So they put the step to help people to jump through the wall. Another example. Okay. Yes. So both. Yes. Okay. Another example is the project of a German artist that realized in Sopot. It's called Structural Sound Project. And he was working with the local community in Sopot. And everyone got such a contact microphone with the instruction how to place it in the public space of the city. And by that, the need was just to send him the location where it is. And he was placing all of the short recordings on the map, on the web page, and by that he was creating the sound, the symphonical map of the area. And the last one example, so we have object, intervention, sound, and text. This is the project, probably you might know it from Riga. It was done from Grete Agard from Denmark. And she spent some time on the residency in Łaźnia, in Nowy Port, one of the districts in Gdańsk. And she, together with the local neighbors, they designed a magazine, a newspaper that was printed a few times during her stay. And this is also quite interesting for me because when you think about working, as now we are running the residency program, so basically English is the language with which we are communicating. And of course, with seniors or with younger people, sometimes it's difficult to communicate in English. So for me, it was kind of nice representation of working with text that is actually quite difficult. But she had translators, and together with the assistants, they managed to publish this magazine, this newspaper. When I was studying history of art for the 10 years, I was working in the ground in the Institute of Art. It was the institution located in the former grounds of shipyard. Agnieszka was showing you the picture of the little building that were surrounded by cranes. And this institution now is not existing anymore and changed the location, and the building will belong to the Museum of Contemporary Art. But anyway, it was quite interesting because the shipyard was a kind, I am not brave to compare it to Kometa, but it was a bit also on the border of the city. So to walk there, it's like 15, 20 minutes. And from one hand, it's very beautiful, interesting, because this is the area of post-industrial architecture, cranes, so all of this beautiful industrial heritage is visible there. But from other hand, there is still, there used to be a wall between the shipyard and the local neighborhood. So one of the projects that were done in 2014 was to arrange a public garden. So for that, the main curator director of the institute, she decided to invite Austrian urban garden planners to work together with the neighborhood to think about what actually we can plant, and later on when the artists are going home, who will be taking care about the plants and the garden and so on. And in frame of that also they created, they built a long table that were used as the place for meetings. So it was not only that the artists are coming, doing something and leaving, but at the same time they were thinking how to make it that the garden will survive and the neighbors, so the visitors can use it also. Another intervention project that was done in the frame of Alternativa Festival was a virtual economic zone. So this was happening in the frame of the biggest fair in Gdańsk that is happening in summer, St. Dominic's Fair, and it's really huge. It's amazing. It's very, very big, and it's occupying the center of the town. So when you are living in the city center, you are actually trapped because for 1 month they are building plenty of little shops, boxes, that it's making the life more difficult. And at the same time, we started also to think about economical alternative ways how to adapt with that. That's why a group of artists who were observing how all this development with occupying the city center and economical reasons is happening, they decided to build a cube, or I will try without microphone. Ah, yes, okay. So the cube that is covered with a mirroring pattern, or maybe I will speak louder. Can be?
Or you can have the microphone like
so then I can't move. So, hello. From yesterday. hello. Something? Yeah. Oh, yes. And as I'm invited I'm collaborating with Baltic Sea Cultural Center. I realized with them the project in 2015, Baltic House Lab, and this was almost half a year long project that we did in Gdańsk. And first thought when we started to plan and design the whole project was actually to use the river that is in the heart of the city, but nobody is thinking it as a pleasant detail for habitants, but rather for the touristic movement. So we have the ferries that are going to Westerplatte or Sobieschewo or some other places around the Gdańsk Bay, but actually nothing special is happening for the habitants. So, so this is one point, and the other one was with whom to collaborate, to whom dedicate the project. So we thought kids are a good audience, but we don't want to do it in a way that we are just running the workshop for the kids and later on they are going home and forgetting about the whole event. Then we decided to put them in the role of city guides, but not the city guides that are talking about heritage and monuments, but rather to give them the voice and show what is interesting for the kids, or from the kids' point of view. And they created, together with artistic duet, a map of nooks, so the secret places. And for signing the place, they also designed their own sign that probably it's internationally known, that this sign means heritage protected object. So by that, they create a map, they put the spots, and the spots were quite funny from the adult point of view, because, for example, they were pointing the stage, that a terrace of cafe, that when the cafe is closed, they are using the terrace as their stage for some performances for kids, or another corner with the huge trash bin from which you can find such treasures like, I don't know, teddy bear or some other interesting objects for kids. And we also, in the frame of that, organized a guided tour with the kids. So they were the guides, and we could hear the stories, what are interesting from them. And why I started from the topic of water, because this district where all the guided tour was happening is at the beginning of the canal. So remember the point, because soon I will come back to the location. Then another group of participants of the project, seniors. So as we have the city water trams, we decided to organize a tour for not only seniors, but actually for everyone who is interested in the tour, with the local guide that is pointing you out by the travel with the tram on the side of the land, all the interesting monuments, which are, and the way is quite rich in historical objects. So we decided to do it just in the morning before all the touristic movement will start. And it was also quite interesting for the local habitants, because some of the stories were just new for them. And this is the last project that I wanted to show you in frame of this big project. And this was organized with the cooperation of designers, and we thought, as we are doing participatory project, it has to be done properly, to work with the local neighborhood, to do the research, mapping, visioning, meetings, talkings, collecting the ideas, comments, and so on. And after that, in the small square in front of this old building that is actually right away close to the river, we asked them if they have any needs. And they said like, oh, okay, it would be cool to have a new furniture that we'll spend our free time there. So together with the artists, we collected these parts. It is recycling taken from the train tracks constructions. So they just painted that. Wood is also collected and refreshed, and we invited also neighbors to help us to build it. Everything seems to be nice, and we spent we had many interesting discussions with the neighbors. And as you can see on the picture, everyone seems to be happy, and we end up the project with the feeling that, success. But after half a year, I was passing by, and then I discovered that the platform that you can see on the picture looks quite set, and actually it's moved from the side of the habitant area. And I was wondering how it happened, because the construction itself, it's crazy heavy. And then I went to the neighbors, as I was working with them, so I already know them by name, and asked like, what's up? And they replied that as there is construction on the site, because developer, as in Gdańsk, every small space is taken by the developer, so we are losing the green space, and that's quite sad. But anyway, one of the neighbors that is actually not visible on the picture, she was claiming, and this is example of failing project from my point of view, she was claiming that she doesn't like the platform because it's just in front of her window, and everyone who is passing by can step on that and check what's up in her apartment. So I will not go into details, but she managed to ask the guys from the construction to take the whole platform by the huge crane and to bring it few meters farther, that her privacy will be safe at home. So I was thinking that, we put a lot of effort and energy, and I thought we had fun together with the habitants, but at the end we failed. But this is... Oh, how to go back? Oh. but luckily we didn't give up, and the construction and tables finally were taken by Baltic Sea Cultural Center to the other side of the river. So nowadays, for the last 3 years, it's just placed. You can see the concrete stairs, and there is also the green space. And now the urban furnitures move there, and looks like they like it. So the neighbors, they have no problem with that. So success. Yes. And now to speed up, I will just quickly say about the residencies that we are doing in the frame of urban cultural planning. So I will not go much into details. I just wanted to give you the overall impression, how is it going. So we have 10 partners in the we are running 8 residencies, and in these 8 residencies we have 10 artists. Some of them are working individual, others are working in duets, and other ones are collaborating with the local community, local artists, so the exchange is nicely running. Some of the artists from, for example, Latvia are going to Gdańsk, so the networking, exchanging is really developing good. And the interesting point from me was the whole process of starting that. So at the beginning, the idea was to collect all the proposals from the partners and to create a huge database. And by collecting the information from the partners who will be running the residency, what are the needs, then I was trying to propose the artists or the creative people who are matching the preferences. And by that we had the Skype interviews with people. So by the Skype interview, finally together with the partners, we were deciding who is going where, and not what we'll do, because this is rather the process that is happening during the residency. So for example, here we have a Swedish duet of artists, Simka, and they were in Riga in the frame of Kometa Festival. And the interesting point which was taking my attention is that one day they organized a silent walk, guided tour by the artist. So again, it's showing the different perspective and understanding and feeling of the area. These are the pictures examples from Free Riga. The group of collaborators were bigger, so we have representatives from Institute for X from Denmark. Then we have also local artists and partners that were assisting the process, and it was about mapping, visioning, organizing open pop-up bureau to collect also the comments of the local community. This is an example of the residency from Pori. It was also quite interesting because Abdul, you can see him by the machine for cooking soup on the left, Abdul Dube, and on the right you can see Jonas Buchel. So they were, the whole process is interesting because still it's developing, and the final presentation of their research and work will be presented at the end of October in Pori. But the communication is still ongoing, so they are communicating on Messenger, and there is a big group of all people involved, and they got a space in the city center. It used to be a shopping mall that was for the last years was abandoned, and they are working and with the local community by collecting their opinions on the past, also going to the history of city, and also about the wishes, what can happen, and how the city can transform. And the last one is the example of the residency of Julie Meyers from Denmark, because now we have 4 residencies. 2 will happen soon, actually 4, and the last one from Russia, from Kaliningrad, will be next year. So Julie Meyers, she is working in Gulzborg municipality, and she is working with sound. So her aim is to collect the stories, soundscape, work with minority, mainly with women, and to collect all of their impression about actually this what is happening in the area, because they started, the urban department of the city, they started to design a new path in the neighborhood, and this was also the starting point of discussing where are the meeting points for neighbors, for people who are living there. And another interesting part from that is that Lindholm, the city, was listed on the list of ghetto for Denmark. And from my point of view, in my opinion, it is not helping, because it's traumatizing and stigmatizing the people who are living there. And it's not only about the immigrants, but also Danish people who are living in the district. And this is the topic that probably will be also touched in the frame of the residency of Julie Meyers. Thank you.